So like I said, this is like, is this your first time too? Sitting
Yeah.
here talking in front of a group of people?
Around that, yeah.
Okay. Now, so we're gonna strive to do this, like I said, more on a consistent basis so we can highlight our talent in the community. So, tell people a little bit about yourself. What's some of your interests? What you like to do?
I really like computers and science and all that.
Okay. Now, when did you realize that that's what one of your interests were?
A few years ago, my birthday, my mom got me my first laptop, and I started getting really into it.
Okay. Can y'all hear him pretty clear? Yeah. You know what? You can take this too.
I really like technology, laptops and all that, computers.
Okay. And you were saying what really got you interested in that?
Both my mom and my grandfather. My grandfather taught me how to use a computer. He taught me how to play video games and all that. And then my mom got me my first laptop because she was interested in it on my birthday.
Oh, okay. Now, what school do you go to?
I go to Abbott.
Do they have access to like computers and stuff like that?
Yeah, they have access to laptops, really small laptops.
How often do you have access to it?
In 2014, I was still in the 5th grade. We used them rarely to do a few math things.
Mm-hmm. But now, I've seen schools in other places where you're 10 years old, where they have 10-year-olds like working on designing apps and video games and stuff. Is that something that you think children your age would be interested in?
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. Now, we got any questions for him? Any questions? Here, come on. You come on. We're going to get into talking about his book, too. He published his first book when he was 10 years old. So.
What's your name again?
My name is Boone. My real name is Manny.
Your real name is Boone, you said?
No, that's my name. My real name is Manny.
Manny?
Yes.
She has a question. Say your name first.
My name is Rolana.
What question you got for him? You got a question for him? Go ahead.
Do you like playing games with your sister and your brothers?
My sister is in Houston, Texas, with my dad, so I can't really do that. But I do play games with my friends and all that. Yeah.
Ask him, does he like playing chess? And ask him how he does when he plays chess.
Do you like playing chess with your sister?
My sister is away, but I do play chess with my friends and my mom's friends.
How good are you?
I'm pretty good, but he keeps beating me.
Any more questions? Anybody else have a question?
Hello, young man. My name is Renee. And I would just like to know, because you have already published your first book, if you thought about doing a series based on your first book, and is that what you like to do, be an author when you grow up? Because you're very young, or are you looking toward the science and math fields?
Sort of looking forward to both. Over the years, I'm going to start publishing more books based off of what, my experiences. And probably by the time I get to high school or college, I'm going to start studying more technology and all that.
Sharp young.
My name is Malik. I wanted to know what pushed you to write your first book and what set you aside from all the other kids to think about writing a book.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. My book started off as just a normal journal. I used to start journaling every so often, a few days. I would write what happened on those days because I'm almost sort of shy, so I don't like talk to people about this stuff. I don't talk to my mom about that. I didn't talk about my mom about that stuff at the time. So I started journaling. I keep, for every 2 days I write a page about it. And then my mom found out about the journal in my dresser, and she started publishing it along the way as soon as I was done.
Okay, that's good.
What's the name of it?
Journal of Waiting to Be King.
Anybody else have a question?
My name is Herbert. What would you say was your most difficult obstacle in writing that book?
My dad, definitely my dad.
Why would you say he was an obstacle?
Cause me and my dad and my mom have been going through a lot lately, and I wrote something about my dad in the book, and it is some emotional time for me because I wanted to say it, but I didn't really want to say it because I didn't want him to find out how I felt and all that. So it's probably the hardest.
One other question that's not necessarily book related. What advice would you give to kids your age going through the same situation that you're going through?
Either start journaling or tell your parents about it. Tell your friends, family.
To add on to that too, I think journals are a little bit less personal than like a diary, you know, and I think that oftentimes creates the opportunity to communicate as opposed to a diary where it's kept private and, you know, that's something between you and what you're writing. But with the journal, it's a little bit more open, you know, whereas parents, they may have an opportunity to, you know, really get a chance to look into what you're thinking and what you're feeling, you know, so his book as well, the first part of this book is his journal, and then the second half of the book has space for each day for a whole month, where a child that's his age who gets his journal, they'll be able to learn how to journal themselves. But they'll learn by being able to read his first and foremost, and then they have space to start journaling themselves. So it's not just a book to encourage people to read about things that he was going through, but it also encourages other youth to write down and share some of the things that they're going through too. We have any other questions?
My name is Darren. Who would you say is your role model, right, and why?
My parents, tip of my parents. Because my mom's a writer, my mom's an athlete, my dad's also an athlete. He doesn't write, but he's an athlete. I definitely look up to him the most.
Hey, can I just add something? I think that right there is one of the best answers I've heard in my life in quite a while, because too many times we look towards athletes, movie stars, or somebody we don't even know to be models when we should have them right there where we live. So that's a pretty good answer.
Another question?
When I was, I guess in grade school, we used to do journals in class, and that's a hate. Because I hate doing a journal, like, it's corny. Like, I hate doing journals. But I think if I had a 10-year-old book at my age, back then, like somebody my age doing a journal, and we had it as a class book, and we can do that, like how your book is, I think more kids would do journals and want to write.
Well, yeah. Okay.
This is funny too, because in my mentorship program, I use his books as a part of the curriculum for his peers. And that's different because some of them he goes to school with, and they didn't believe it at first because they just know him by Manny. And I'm like, yeah, boom, and they trying to, it was unbelievable for a lot of them, but at the same time it encouraged and inspired them, like, I know I could do this too, because, you know, I go to school with him. So, you know, I've seen that, you know, with some of the people that he goes to class with. We have any other questions? Huh? You got a question?
No, I got a comment.
Okay.
Me and his mom, you know, part of the struggle with the book was that because it is his personal feelings, we don't want to be intrusive. And the book was put out, and also to let fathers know that they are important. You know, so even when you don't see your children, or if you're in prison, or if you're in another state, your interaction with your children is important. And so when he says, and I've said this, I'm very public about the fact that families are important, and I go hard on women, on men, to make sure that our structure as co-parents is intact because of reasons like this. You know, he had a lot of, you know, he didn't find out his father and I were divorced until years later because that's not his business, he's a child, you know. And I think that we as parents have to be a little bit more careful with what we do share with our children and how we speak about each other to our children, because then what ends up happening, we would have a very different kind of book, you know. So he holds his father in high esteem, he holds me in high esteem. Everybody that's his friends or, you know, that comes in contact with him, he holds in high esteem because he knows I wouldn't have him around somebody that was a mess. But then in the book, he also talks about his first issue with racism here in this city. You know what I mean? So as a parent, that's difficult as well. And so his book turned into something for other children to be able to talk about as, you know, a reference point for those of us that work nights or those of us that work, we don't really get to sit down and talk with our kids like they do on television. So as a child, he was always told he didn't really have a choice. He has no choice but to be great. Your father's great, I'm great, you don't have a choice. Now you can choose which greatness you want to be, but you have to be great. So you have to pick what you want to be great at. So it's kind of interesting watching him as a young man go into different avenues. We know he loves computers, you know, we know, and his father actually bought him the laptop. I will give him that. His father actually bought him the laptop. Anything he needs. We don't, I think as parents, I think sometimes we push our kids into sports that maybe they don't want to play, but maybe we want them to play. You know, he did football, he did great at it. Mom, I don't like football. Okay, you don't got to play it. You know what I mean? Mom, I like baseball. Okay, you can play baseball. Mom, I don't like this. Then we don't do it. And I think that as parents, it's a good book for parents to read as well, because your children, you know, are little portions of you. And so we can't forget that the fathers are a portion of them as well. So every time you tell a child, you know, your daddy ain't this or your daddy ain't that, that child then takes that information and says, well, I'm half, not this or that, because that's what my mom said. And you can't do that. As women, we cannot do that. As fathers, we have to step up and be in that role, because if you don't want to step up, there are other mentors in the community that will step up, and then your children, your dreams that you have for your children now get to the wayside because they're not around you. They don't know what your dreams are. So as a kid, he just came to me about a week ago and told me he was interested in drama class. And if any of y'all know me, y'all know that that's like, you know, the heavens opening up like, yes, we got a baby Denzel, and, you know, do everything I could do to make sure that he gets the best of whatever it is. But I think for the area, we're very fortunate that we have Canada right there, Toronto's right there, there's a huge culture over there. He travels with me. One of the other reasons I put a book out, you know, for him through my own publishing company is so that when I'm on book tour, he can travel with me. So it's another way for me to be able to get to spend time with him and communicate with him. So when I'm talking to him about, and the series was actually his idea. He said, hey, in a couple of years when I'm going through something else, I want to put something out about that to let kids know. He talks about his crush on a little girl, you know, in this book, which I didn't know was age appropriate until I read it myself. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's innocent, whatever. But he's a good kid, and hopefully if we stay in this area, we're able to nurse and we're able to gift him everything that the city has to offer. Because when we were kids, you know, we had the Boys and Girls Club, 13th Street, and then our parents.
Third.
What you say?
Third.
Whatever. You know, we had the Boys Club, 17th Street, but that's what we had, but we traveled. You know, so everything with us as kids was academics and sports. And I think now kids are getting away from the academics, leaning more towards sports, where they're, you know, doing too much in the academics to the point where they're like, that's it, I'm just going to drop out because I got to get a job. And I think as parents, we should never let the children have to worry about taking care of us when we get older. You know, they should be able to take care of themselves. We should be able to do what we need to do so they can focus and get back to being kids. And that's it.
One thing I want to add on to what you're saying too is, like, when we were growing up, it wasn't really daycares like that. You know, if you didn't have nobody to watch your children, it was your aunt, your grandmother, your uncle. So people took on that responsibility. It was more like a philosophy, like they're all collectively our children. And that is something that's a little different nowadays, where people think a lot more individualistic, and if you know, and sometimes family members like, you know, I ain't gonna do it unless you pay me. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole different mentality nowadays, and that's why it's important for us to be able to create the network and the support system and supplement the education and everything else for a lot of the youth, because they simply may not have it. And one of the things that I see too, doing my youth mentorship program, is sometimes, you know, sometimes you have people that sit there and say, parents don't care about their children, they ain't spending no time with them, this, that, and the third. But sometimes you have parents that's working 2 jobs or doing so much, they just literally can't be there. It's not because they don't care, but they have to take care of a lot of different things. And seeing that, I understand why it's important for us to step up and say we need to assist people, you know, who, you know, children, and be father figures and mother figures. Because sometimes, especially in an area like this where you have such a high level of poverty, that people don't have that kind of support system and network, and if we're not doing it, our future is going to look like that.
Also, pushing off what she was saying too, thankfully I had the parents that I had growing up too. My mom right over here and my stepdad. Growing up, like, I really didn't have my dad in my life either, so like, but I had a stepdad that always made me think. He always made me think about what I had to do in life and what I had to do to get there. Even though he wasn't my dad, he didn't have to really do that, but he just showed me a way that I could outthink other people and think about situations that I was in. And like, my mom never, she never badmouthed my dad either. She always like tried to push me into doing what I wanted to do, doing what was best for me, and like, I always looked up to that as like, that's a good thing. And thank God I'm out of trouble and stuff like that. Thank God that I do a lot of good things with myself too. And that's all because of the parents that I had growing up. I'm thankful, you know? Definitely thankful. Thankful. Thankful.
I think it's phenomenal that he wrote a book, or he had a journal at his age. Because, I mean, in the era we grew up in, that was unheard of. I mean, I don't think none of us took school serious. I don't remember ever doing homework in school. Like, I did it in school. If it ain't doing it in school, it didn't get done. So, because even in our era, I mean, Herb know, and you know.
I did homework.
No, I
Technical, so.
Get it at Amazon.com. You can get it at my mom's website, I believe. Right, Mom?
Yeah.
StandingLaneWithTheDrew.com. And that's about it, right? Kindle.
And you could order it too through any place that sells books, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target. You can order through any of those other outlets as well. It's called Journal of a Kid Waiting to Be Counted.